simple polyline just as an example. So the shortcut for divide is div enter. You can also do the full word divide. This is one command that you need to select your item you're dividing after you start the command. If you do it beforehand, it'll deselect automatically. So I'm going to select this line, and next prompt that comes up is enter number of segments or block. So we'll talk about this when we get to blocks as well. There's a way of equally spacing a specific block along a line, sort of like an array. But for the sake of this, we're just going to put in, let's say, 6 for number of segments, and that's it. But as you can see, we can't see anything on here. If I select this whole area, we do have these points that are in here. So we've got, it counts the ends as part of it. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So when you're doing divide, you're not taking into account the points, you're actually taking into account the spaces in between. So depending on what you're using this for, you may need to add to that number or subtract from that number. But what is a good way of being able to see our points that we actually divided this line into? And just as a note, we did not actually break this line. This line is still continuous. We just inserted points along this line. So to change the point style, you type ptype, enter, and then this menu comes up. So right now what we've got is this single point, which you can insert points. That's part of your drawing tools. You'll find those. We've got multiple points in there. So this just allows you to drop as many points in there as you want. But they are hard to see. So let's do ptype, enter, and I like to do the X. I feel like it just shows up easier for me to read, but you can pick any of these styles. There's 2 settings you can have in here. One is set size relative to screen. This is usually what I do, and I leave it at 5%. That means that your points will change with size as you zoom in and out, and the screen refreshes. The other way is to set an absolute size. So for example, if you want to see your points when you print, but you want them to be a specific size, you would do this setting. But for now, let's leave it at size relative to screen, 5%, and I hit OK. As you can see, all of our points, these are the ones we dropped in there with multiple points. I'm just going to erase those, but now you can see our points are a little clearer. And like I said, this did not actually break the line. Like I said, reasons for using this might have to do with figuring out spacing or just understanding incremental sizes along a line. You can do this with curves as well. So div, divide, select, let's do 12, and they space out along the line. If you don't want to see those points again, you just go back into ptype, and either put it to the one where it's invisible or the singular point style. The reason for doing this sometimes is if I go to ptype, change it to this, hit OK, zoom way out, you can start to see how they get really big. So depending on what you're doing, you might not want the size to be that big. We'll talk about redraw and regen a little bit later. I think that's in section 10. But if your points are looking bigger than they should be, you can always type regen and they will shrink back down to that 5%.